Tonight we are going to talk about the planting intentions in the United States and the estimates by Jerry Gidel right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, before we jump into your service number that everybody wants to hear, we can talk about today's markets in commodities.
Well, the end of the week is always an interesting time. You have people that decide that they want to be out of market before the weekend. You have maybe concerns about a weather forecast in the U.S. or South America. Today was not an unusual situation. We had beans get uh, 2 days ago, we had the market pop through a downtrend line and above some, 50-day moving average. It didn't, it kind of stayed slightly higher on yesterday's close, but then today it took a real beating when I think there was just people deciding that there different thoughts about the rains in Argentina. Is it going to hurt or is it going to help? That kind of stuff. Plus, of course, we have this upcoming set of data here next Thursday ahead of the Easter holiday that I think added to it. And we had stops below the market, got activated pretty sharply here and took all the gains we've had for most of this week. We're right back to where we started. Slightly up, but overall here the markets this time of year there's lots of different things influence South America, U.S., what the weather forecast might be, for the spring in the U.S., which did come out this week too.
All right, and let's end the mystery here. Let's talk about your numbers. I saw before the start of the show that your numbers for the U.S. soybean surfaces is slightly smaller slightly less acres than the market is projecting, the average of the market, and is slightly more corn surface than what the market has projected. Why is that?
Well, like many of the other surveys that have been released here from various sources around the industry, and that I've been cautious that there really hasn't been a very aggressive situation here in prices on soybeans to really attract the kind of acres that really seems to be bouncing around in here on people's expectations. From that standpoint, there's lots of people that are kind of reflecting back to what might be the situation from the USDA's that they published way back in February, but there was no survey on that. That was their projections of what should happen and that, but producers don't always see the same approach as economic analysis or the USDA projects at this point. Originally, the USDA was looking for over 3.5 million increase in beans and about the same situation going down in corn. Those all make logical sense from the point of view of what's out there, our size of carryover stock. On corn, we definitely don't need that many more acres being planted. On corn, on the soybean side of things, given the already kind of structure that's out there being built for expanded uh, renewable diesel and that all made sense that we do need a 3.5 to 3.8 million type of increase. Problem is that the producers out there, the spread between soybeans and corn is how they look at things. It's not so much about what the price is, and particularly since both prices were very defensive here from the first of the year all the way up, really to most of the time that the producers have been responding on their surveys. Uh, I think that's one of the factors that makes me cautious that we're going to get the planting intentions numbers here to show that the expanded soybean plantings we need. From there, uh, I think both trade person people were looking for a number here of about 3 million plus on beans, which is, as I said, not as high as USDA, but at the same time, still a respectable number on expanded beans. And I'm actually concerned that we might have things a lot closer to on that number back towards the uh, 80, excuse me, 85.75. So that's 78, 700, 800,000 acres less in plantings. And that can make a big difference here. Instead of three, we're about 2.2. Well, that's a big difference there on that one. On the corn side, I'm also very cautious about things being reduced here. I'm looking for about 2.3, 2.4 decline in the numbers here. To some extent, corn and soybean acres are really the two things that shift a lot. And that wheat acres in the Southwest did take a 2.2 million, I think it was, actual decline on the planting intentions or the in February, excuse me, in January when they put those numbers out. But I kind of feel like that number might even go up just a little bit. They always seem to find more acres by the time we get to planting intentions on winter wheat. And I kind of feel like that the wheat prices have hung in here strongly in the spring wheat areas and that. So I don't see a lot of change being reduced there and switches over to corn and soybeans. That really is getting back to the cost of putting the crop in the ground and that type of thing, and the potential yield they might or might not have. Right now, at least, it's been still a little bit dry up there and not as the wintertime situation here. Actually, the snows that have occurred have actually soaked in a little bit. Sometimes we get a huge amount of snow up that in North Dakota and on into Montana that all melts away at one time and goes down the Missouri River. But it turns out that we haven't seen as much of that. There is some snow that's going on up there this weekend, though, in that part of the world. So not surprising on that. But overall, I guess I'm more cautious about the producers out there in their survey that the government has versus the economic analysis of why you should do something. And the tricky part about that is the fact that the corn loan prices were down near that level, that type of thing. And if the producer thinks that, he can or can't making money at that, really depends on to get them to, there are going to be some switches because we had a certain amount of expansion last year because the price of cash corn was substantially higher than cash beans were. Well, that's going to switch, but I guess we'll find out. There's a lot of different opinions out there as to how that's all going to go, and I think that's a real big factor here. If we don't end up getting a number up there close to 3 million or above, like the trade is kind of alluding to, or better on plantings on beans, we definitely need the spread between soybeans and corn to spread out to attract more acres here, giving the fact that there's even commentary from, of all people, CoBank. They're a big financial organization that's kind of groups together all the co-ops in the U.S., pointing out the issue that maybe we've got a big expansion going on here, and maybe we're not going to see enough grain to really fill it, or maybe we have a situation where we're over capacity on soybean crushing facilities, say in the 18 to 24 months out. So there's lots of different people staring at this whole situation about capacity, beans to supply it, and that type of thing in the U.S.
Now, in Argentina, a lot of crops are underwater right now, and some areas even had hail over the last few days.
Yes, it's been a really interesting set of weather to say the least. That was also added into some of our strengths we had in the bean market here midweek. At that point, it's really concentrated mostly in Santa Fe, back towards the capital, eastern Buenos Aires. It hasn't been as much out in Cordoba or in La Pampas out there, but definitely. And even today, they ended up making an adjustment in their corn output, taking it down. I'm not sure it's a full 2 million metric tons, but I think they took it from 56.5 down to 54 for sure. That would be 2.5 million if that's the case from there. But in general, the optimism that was around in the Argentina here for some great crops have really waned here in the last few weeks.
And what are you seeing as the market reaction, especially price reaction next week?
Well, it's sometimes we end up uh, get people anticipating things. I kind of feel like that was part of what happened in the beans today, that there was concerns that maybe we'd see some pretty sizable expectations for expansion in soybeans up. They got them up near 3 million metric tons. So I don't know that that's surprisingly heavier than the trade was looking for. I think they were concerned that might come out, but the biggest problem in this whole thing is in the markets for next week. We're going to be also looking at South American weather. We're also going to be looking at U.S. weather. The one thing that kind of popped up this week, midweek, I guess, is Wednesday into Thursday, was the fact that the National Weather Service's April, May, June forecast really had above normal temps across most of the Midwest, Northern Plains, and on towards the mid-Atlantic states in the U.S. At the same time, the moisture situation in that area was neutral at best, and to some extent there was, it made things very interesting here as to what our prospects are, because the latest drought monitor really kind of pointed out to some of the issues we've had, and that kind of gets its focus this time of year after, people kind of put that in the back burner over the winter time and that, but they're still pointing out this old dryness that was really around last fall in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and that's still there. And we definitely need to have some spring rains at this point, and it's really not on the agenda. So I think those are I think this is going to heighten people's attitudes about how the rain's going to event. And then right now, at least, the this is unusual to have the USDA's quarterly stocks and also planting intentions. They're normally out on March 31st, but that turns out to be a Sunday, and that this coming weekend will be the world celebration of Easter. So we won't even have a market on Friday. So that's why everything's kind of moved up here to March 28th, and that's going to make things quite interesting here. We got a 3-day weekend and some other things involved. So it will make the reactions of things. If to some extent we're not as heavily shifted over to beans, I think they could still be a leader here. Corn, it's going to be tough, even if you go down 3 million on corn. You're still not going to really turn that around here unless we can get some more concerns in South America for their crop. Argentina, we just talked about that particular corn crop down there being slipped back, and I think there's still a lot of concerns about the USDA's 154 million metric ton estimate. Now, I'm not saying that, we're not anywhere in last year's issues in Argentina where they really got hammered. But at the same time, you put those areas, that just means that there could be some renewed interest in U.S. corn, and that if the world numbers here on corn in South America get tightened back up again. So, maybe we'll get some more excitement here as we go into the month of April. We've had some positive kind of trends the last few weeks, and maybe we'll get the things to roll again uh, as we get after Easter. I guess I don't really have a strong opinion about which way the market's going to go next week. I kind of feel like that it's going to be a sideways, maybe slightly higher situation, and then we'll see what the numbers have to say before the big holiday.
Well, we'll catch up at the bell rings.
Exactly. You have a good weekend, and hope everyone's having a good NCAA tournament. It's been a lot of upsets already.
Thank you so much.
Bye.